Welcome to Preparing for the Unexpected. This month, we are talking with Regina Phelps. We are looking back at 2023, and we're going to take a look forward to 2024. Regina, lots of interesting news, lots of news.
Indeed.
I don't want to
Indeed.
say good in the first
I think
segment there.
exactly right. But I think when you look at everything that's happened in 2023, I think what I'd ask all of our listeners to do is to really stop and reflect for a moment about how you did overall. I'm a big person of wanting to be reflective at this time of the year, and in all the years I've owned my business, which is 41 years, one of the things I do every year is I look at how I've done, but then I'm also thinking about going forward. So one of the things I would really ask all of our listeners to do is maybe screenshot this and really kind of work on this as kind of a homework project, maybe over the next couple of weeks. What did you really accomplish in this particular year? And, how did it change you, and how did it evolve you? And if you had to sum up what happened to you in 2023, if you had to do a few words or a sentence or two, what would you say about it? And really reflect on the totality of the year. You could look at this simply professionally, or you could look at in your personal life, or you could look at it in its holistic fashion. But it's always good to sort of stand back and look at what you've done in the course of the year. What was the most memorable? Did you have any big surprises, either in your career or your family life, your personal life? Any big headlines or things that were really a big event for you during the course of the year? Any significant life transitions, any achievements or milestones that you want to list, and really any life challenges? I think that one of the powerful things about when the year ends is it gives you a great opportunity to look back and say, what did I really accomplish? What was really great about it? What could I have done better? Uh, what kind of things do I want to look at going forward? And that's what I want to talk about next. But I think it's good to really reflect every year about how you did. And I've started doing this. I got this advice when I started my business 41 years ago. And every year I have done that since then. I reflect on my year, and then I also look at what I want to achieve going forward. And it's really helped me ground myself in both in continuing to improve, finding ways that I can modify or change things. It's really good to be thoughtful about your life. Have you ever done that, Alex?
Yes, I do. I tend to do it around my birthday,
Ah,
early November. So that's when I kind of do it.
mm-hmm.
But I do the same sort of thing. And I think a lot of people at the beginning of the year, they make all these New Year's resolutions,
Right,
I want to do this, this, and this over the year. But when the year ends, what many people don't do is actually reflect and take a look back. Did I
right,
actually do
right.
these things? What caused me not to do these things? How did I do it? Did I give up?
Mm-hmm.
And just, walked away. And then the next year comes and they make the same list.
Exactly right.
So
Exactly.
nothing ever
Repeat,
changes.
repeat. Right, right. Yeah, I think the reflection part is really important. It's not to beat yourself up if you didn't achieve those things. It's really to just sort of stop and just give a good look at your life. And I have really, several pages of notes every year going back for 40 years that I've done. And it's really helped me improve not only my professional career, but my life in general, which I would encourage people to take that moment to be reflective. It's really helpful.
Yeah.
But when I was thinking about, reflecting on 2023, I thought I came up with I thought I'm still standing. I'm like, oh, Ellen John has a song, so I'm still standing.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna sing it for you, I promise.
Neither am I.
So then the thing is, well, what about 2024? What are we thinking about going forward? And of course, you asked that question, and I like, who knows? I don't know if you ever remember seeing any of these when you were a kid in amusement parks. This is where you would
Yes.
go up to this box, and it would be a automated kind of gypsy woman there'd be cards, and she would run her hands over it, and then a little card would drop into a little container at the bottom. You'd pull it out, and it would be your little fortune. Did you ever do that?
Yep. Yeah. When you never believe anything they say, they were just
Of
kind of
course, of course.
fun to
But it was
drop in your
fun.
quarter or token, and they say you will be successful in such and such. It was always something general that, you're just like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever, right,
But it
right,
was
right.
fun.
But I mean, that's sort of like us trying to guess what's going to happen, right? So, I mean, there's just so many things that could go on, both positively and negatively. And I'm not going to spend any time on those because you and I will spend the next 2024 talking about them. But everything that I've talked about so far is all the things that we have to think about in 2024. And we've talked a lot about polycrisis, the impact of the pandemic, which will go on for about 50 years, the climate change issues, the global instability, all of the tensions globally and regionally, all the domestic issues, the rise of the autocratic leaders, all of that is going to continue to unfold in ways that we aren't even sure about in 2024. And that's really a huge, huge issue for us to contend with. So this gets down to really thinking about what you want to achieve in 2024. So you said that you do this at your birthday. I do this usually
Yes.
at the end of the year. I usually go on retreat for a week of silence, January 1st to January 8th. And so this gives me the opportunity to do that. And I thought I'll sort of share with you some of my questions that I ask myself every year, and then maybe we can chat a bit about those. So I always think it's really interesting to stop and think about where you want to be, in every aspect of your life. And you can divide that into your personal life, which you could talk about your health, your relationships, your family, your friends, all of those things. Then you can certainly talk about your professional life, both in your careers, also in associations and other work that you might do. And you and I do a lot of writing and speaking, so I put all of that stuff in that same sort of hopper as well. And then you can think about other things like maybe travel or your spiritual paths or whatever is important to you. It's a great opportunity for you to sort of really begin to think about what you want to achieve. And so these are some of the things I ask myself every year. So one of the things I'm always interested in is how do I want to feel? So at the end of the year, like I say, like next year, I'd like to feel, maybe I want to feel more healthy, or maybe I want to feel more accomplished, or maybe I want to feel like I'm in better connection with my friends, or whatever that is. But it's really a feeling of something that I'm trying to get at. And you could also talk about that professionally. And I try and kind of divide my life into the personal and the professional side so I don't necessarily moosh them all together. That's
Mhm.
more helpful for me, right?
Yeah, me too. When I have goals, I have personal ones and professional ones.
Right, right,
Because a lot of times the support networks you need to accomplish those goals are different.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
So,
how you go about it, right?
yeah, they're different places. Professionally, yeah, I want to go visit the office in San Francisco, let's say, as a goal. But personally, well, I don't want to do anything that's related to work, and San Francisco reminds me of work. So I want to go to, I don't know, Seattle.
Right, right,
Just
right.
as a simple example, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to, I think it's important to have a sense of not just saying like, oh, I want to do, I want to write 10 articles. I want to give 5 speeches. I want to write a book. I like to know actually how I'm going to feel when I do all of those things, because I think that actually is a more of a motivator for me than actually just ticking the box. I
Hmm.
talk about ticking the box all the time, right? About our
Yeah,
clients, when clients only want to tick the box, it irritates me.
me too. Me too.
Right, right, right. So I
But
like to
you
talk
also
about,
have to be realistic with them too, because you
yes.
just gave a couple of good examples there. I want to write a book, 10 articles, and all these things. Then you're going to stress yourself out,
Hmm.
and you're not going to get any of your goals accomplished.
Well, and the question, and I think the bigger question to think about too is why? Why do you want to write the book? Why do you want to write 10 articles? Because sometimes it's easier to sort of tick those things off about accomplishments. But
Mhm.
what's really the driver? Is it the driver that you want to deepen your knowledge? Well, there's lots of ways to deepen your knowledge besides write 10 articles. Is it because you want to be seen as a professional, or you want to be seen as an expert in the field? Okay, well then there's other ways you can go about that. So sometimes it's kind of like, I think I've talked about this a lot. When I spend a lot of time with my clients, I'm always asking them the why question until I drive them crazy. Why are we doing this? And that's a little bit about this, right? When I look at what I'm trying to achieve, it's like, well, why do I want to do that? Well, why do I want to exercise every day? Oh, because I feel healthier. Well, what's that about? I mean, the idea is to sort of try and peel it back instead of being so simple in thinking about something, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Uh,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, don't go ahead. I was just gonna say, go ahead.
So, I think about what are the messages I want to prepare myself for the new year. So, essentially what am I trying, how do I want to set myself up for success? So what are the messages that I want to make sure that I clearly understand that I'm trying to get out of something? So if my goal is I want to feel overall more healthy, what does that mean? How am I going to get there? And why do I want that? It's just dig a little deeper than simply because everybody says that you should be thinking about your health or that you should be thinking about advancing your career or that you want to make more money or things like that. So I find it helpful to sort of dig in that way. So those are really kind of more nebulous, right? I want to talk about I encourage you to think about what you want to feel like, what you want to prepare yourself for, and then really get into your goals. And so, what do we do for a living, right? And all of my clients, we teach incident action planning. We teach how to write very specific goals. It's the same thing. SMART goals, right? Where they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time bound. So if you're looking for goals for 2024, that's the time bound is it's 12 months. And then you get into how specific you want to be, how measurable and achievable it is, how relevant it is to your overall life. And really maybe divide those into categories, things like your personal health, your family, your relationships, your business, your work. If you're doing professional development, maybe it'd be things such as, again, speaking or writing. All of those things can really be helpful. Lately, this last 3 years, I've been mentoring mainly women, but probably about 20 different people across the world in this particular work in our field. And I have found that to be one of the most rewarding jobs. I call it a job, but one of the most rewarding jobs I've done is to help people be reflective on their life and to ask them lots of questions, give them homework, talk with them about how they could actually achieve the goals that they're trying to achieve and help them really focus their attention on what they want to do. And it's actually really fun to be a mentor and to really help people, achieve
Mhm.
something.
Well, one thing I want to add and get your opinion too is when you are determining your goals, whether they be personal or professional, or even the goals for an organization, a leadership team doing this, you got to do them for yourself. What works for you. Don't do them or create them or decide on what they're going to be because somebody else has that goal.
Absolutely.
Regina's going to write a book in 2024. Oh, that means I have to,
Right.
right? No. That means something to Regina. It doesn't mean something to me. It doesn't mean the same thing to Alex. I'm only choosing that as a goal because I'm not really looking at myself. I'm looking
Right.
at everybody else.
Right. That is really true. And I think, that's really important, again, to really know thyself, right?
Yeah.
And that goes back to the question of why. When somebody says to me, gee, I want to start a business. Oh, that's great. Why do you want to do that? And then to peel back what that means to own a business and understanding what the requirements and obligations are and the amount of unknownness and so
Mhm.
on, right? And if you're really comfortable with all of those things after you've peeled back by asking those questions why, then yeah, jump in it. But if you just want to start a business because it sounds cool, then wow, that's not going to work.
No, you're gonna get quite the wake up call.
You're going to get a big wake up call, right? Exactly. And so I think it's really important. That's one of the best things I've done in the 40 plus years I've owned my company is I've set goals every year. I always do this deep dive at the end of the year. I have really structured goals about what I've achieved. I look at them. Actually, the way I manage my life is I look at them every day. They're the first thing that pop up on my computer. And so I see them every day, whether I want to see them or not. And so it helps me like, okay, where am I on that? And at the end of the year, it's like, okay, did I achieve everything I wanted to achieve? If not, then why didn't I? Did I really want to do it? Sometimes I maybe didn't dig deep enough into the why, and therefore I ended up having something on my list that really was more of something I thought might be fun or interesting, but I really didn't care about it in particular.
Yeah.
So I think that's always been really helpful for me.
Yeah, me too. I like I said, I do it on my birthday, but I do the same sort of thing. What do I want to do this next year?
Mhm.
What kind of things do I not want to do? I don't want to continue doing XYZ anymore. I want to cut ties with this relationship, or I want to cut ties with this negative influence,
Yep,
in my life. That is still a goal, to do that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I want to meet other people in this other industry so that I can learn, or whatever the case may be. You can,
Mhm.
but it's got to be relevant to me. And goals don't always have to be positive. It can be getting rid of some of the negative things in your life too,
Absolutely.
to turn things around.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that you reevaluate that, like with relationships or jobs or even careers. I'm mentoring somebody now who's actually wants to change their career, and they're really like, oh, but I've spent all this time and energy, and well, but are you happy? No. Well, okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because if you're miserable, okay, you got a degree in this, but now you hate it. Well, let's think about whether that makes sense. Can you use some of those skills, but not do that particular work? I mean, I think we really get hung up about how we put ourselves into a box about what we have to do, should do, and then we have a hard time backing out of it, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that, and I got to be careful. I know some people that are like that.
Hmm.
Not happy with what they're doing, but that's what they went to school with. So now they feel like they're stuck,
Right, right,
you know, and it's kind of, now what do I do?
right,
And
right.
well, go through this self-reflection and find out what you can do.
Hmm.
Chances are pretty good. Some of the skills you've learned in a job you hate can actually be transferred to a job, a role that you will love.
Right. Absolutely. It's very funny that you say that, because I started my career initially in the field of nursing, which I only did the actual physical act of nursing for a couple of years. And often when people discover I'm a nurse, it's like, how could you do what you do now? Because, you started out as a nurse, and it's like, well, because nurses are really skilled. They can do lots of things, right?
Mhm.
Just because
Yeah,
I was doing X and now I'm doing Y, right? It still has so many of the skills are exactly the same, just applied differently. So funny.
yeah, agreed.
Um, one of the things I just ran into, and I think I'm going to do this year, is come up with a word for the year. And I thought that was interesting. I haven't found a positive word for the year yet for 2024. Um, the last one for 2023, if I was to give it a word, I would say it was the word I heard out of every newscaster's mouth almost every day was unprecedented. I mean, how many things have we had in 2023 that have been unprecedented? It's never happened before. Oh my God. Um, so I'm curious, I need to find a good word for 2024, and that's what my goal is going to be in my retreat this year. What do you think your word was for 2023 if you had to have one, Alex?
Oh, you know what? Really have to think about that because I haven't
If you had to
ever
boil
thought,
the ocean, right?
I haven't ever thought of, what's the word for the year?
To
I don't
sum
think
it up.
I've ever really thought of that before. I agree with you. I heard unprecedented all the time,
Right,
or expressions, we're on unknown ground, or, something along those lines all the
right.
time. Uh, and in our industry, I heard everything is resilience now.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what it is, it's
It
resilience.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Everything is resilient. The
yeah,
garbage pile is resilient.
yeah. You know, cleaning up garbage, and how to be resilient. It's like,
Right,
oh God, it's like just tacked on to everything these days.
right. That's so
So
true. Yeah, I'm not picking resiliency for 2024. I'm to find something else. I just don't know what it
yeah,
is yet.
yeah, me too.
But I like the idea of having a word of the year. So when we get together in January, we'll have to share what our word of the year is going to be. How's that? That's our homework assignment, you and I.
I'll try to remember. I'll try to remember.
I love it.
And we only have 4 minutes left, believe it or not.
I know. I'll
We
talk
are
fast.
we are
I
flying.
know. I saw that. I looked at my timer and went like, oh gosh. The last two things are really about setting an intention. And intentions are different than goals. Goals are things you want to achieve, where intentions are how you want to feel. So if you think about how you're going to be feeling in the year of 2024, what's your intention that you want to set? And that's one of the things I would encourage you to think about. And then lastly, I've done affirmations all my life. And so think about what kind of affirmation you might want to have in 2024. And I can tell you some great stories about those, but I won't today. Maybe we'll wait till the next time we're together. But these are things I'd like our listeners to be thinking about until we see them again in January. And lastly, I want to give you a quote that I actually read as an obituary in the New York Times. This is a lovely photograph of a very interesting man who unfortunately just died, but he was an older guy. Mike Gurnich, he is a very famous winemaker in Napa Valley. He actually is from Croatia, and he had the most amazing, stunning success. If you're a wine person, I'm a longtime wine collector. My family owned restaurants, so I've been a longtime wine collector forever. In May 25th of 1976, he received a telegram, remember those? Saying that there was a stunning success in a tasting in France. And he was like, what tasting? What success? Because he didn't know anything about this. And it turns out that without his knowledge, one of his vintages, this is when he was working as a winemaker for somebody else, in 1973, a Chardonnay had been entered in a blind tasting in Paris. And it was pitted against other American wines and 9 classic French wines. And there were 9 French judges, and they all 100% agreed that his Chardonnay was the best white wine at this trial in 1976. Now, back then, California was considered to be nothing as far as wine was concerned, and certainly in relationship to French winemakers. So when this happened, it took the wine world and flipped it upside down. And he just recently died. And when he was reflecting on his own life, he said the best piece of advice he ever got was from his father before he left his homeland of Croatia to come to actually British Columbia and then to the United States. He said, every day, do something just a little better. And I would say to all of our listeners, I hope and pray for all of you that whatever ideas you have for 2024, that you every day do something just a little better.
And on that note, we've come to the end of the show. Regina, thank you so much. Thanks for all the talks and the discussions for 2023 and all the things we've learned and shared over the last year. And I wish you and all our listeners and viewers nothing but the best for 2024.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Whatever you are celebrating, even if you're not, I still hope you have a great holiday. Take care. Thanks, Regina. Everyone watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.